Alrighty. The stream is on. I need to disable monitoring because I'm listening to my own voice, and that's really confusing. Now it's better. Now it's better. Now it's better. Now it's better. Okay, the stream is on.
Yes.
1, 2.
1, 2.
Hey, I can hear you.
Good. I had it's all very slow because I'm using my old laptop and I had to go and turn on the microphone, the volume settings and stuff like that.
Okay. I think I'm trying to noise you. Because it's really noisy. So let me just add a plugin. Noise repellent.
You want me to be on? Okay, yeah.
Because apart from a lot of noise, the sound from you is pretty decent. But well, you can't do anything about the noise, so I can do something about the noise.
Let's see if I can do something. So
maybe you can up the gain on the mic. Maybe
no, unfortunately, the problem could be. Okay, let me try. So I've upped the gain.
That's not better. That's actually worse.
That's what I'm saying because in reality,
this is way
there's
better.
A lot of noise from the laptop. It's a built-in thing.
That's weird. Because
theoretically, I can maybe do something about this. I'm just.
By the way, do you hear sound from the stream right now?
Oh, I muted it so that otherwise there's going to be a delay.
Yeah. I'm gonna unmute it for a while and just listen to hopefully pick up. Oh no, that's gonna make feedback.
Well, one thing we can do is I can just type.
But that would defeat the purpose of having a voice chat.
So here's what we can do. Here's what we can do. I'm asking a question and then I'm saying, okay, this is what I want to know.
Okay.
Then I mute again, so that's fine. I can kind of give you what I need to know. Just give you a quick explanation. Yeah?
All right. So let me just add some denoising, maybe. Because, yeah, it's pretty noisy. That's going to take me a short while. Now this is for recording. This is for my ears. Okay, now you can speak. And I'm gonna open up this denoiser and just configure it.
Turn down the microphone so that you can hear me.
Okay, now maybe clap your hands, and then I'm gonna enable noise learning.
Hey, clapping my hands. Hey.
Okay.
I don't have a bad sector on my computer here at all.
All right.
Only good
that's fine.
on my computer.
Sweet.
Okay. Cool.
It's like self-adapting now. It's gonna be a little bit better than nothing.
Yeah, but again, do you want me from time to time to just turn it off?
No, because there is an automatic gate. When you don't speak, it completely vanishes. There's no sound when you don't speak.
Cool. Got it, man.
Okay, so. Well, you can hear me through the voice call, right? Can you? You should be, right?
I'm listening to you through Discord, not through YouTube.
Okay.
Is muted for me.
Yeah, all right. So you will the problem is going to be you will have a slight delay of, I will speak things and you will hear them and then you'll see things in latency. I could delay my voice, but I set it to minimum latency. So that, yeah. Okay. Alrighty. Oh, we have one more guest. Hey, Mr. XT. Sorry, Mr. TXD. Okay. I'm gonna hide this thing. I don't need Carla anymore on my view. I'm gonna have the chat open and just monitor. Alright, so let's start. This live stream, Luigi asked me to give him an introduction to working in 3D, making 3D graphics with Blender. So I thought maybe let's do it like a live stream, and he'll ask questions, he can ask questions, and I can answer, and I can show around things. So what I have here is Blender 2.80 beta or beta. So stop interrupting me. What is that?
I guess maybe we can start if I like formulate what the problem is or what I'm trying to do here, because I think that it could
Yeah.
be it could be a very common thing. So right, I'm not going to, or I'm not planning to start modeling things from scratch just yet. I'm also not sure I need it. But what I need to is to be able to take somebody's patch and modify it. Right? Not only this is a common learning pattern, it's also what like I actually need to do. So for example, in your case, you helped me create this blend file. And for starters, what I need to do is to kind of move the camera around and render this file from multiple angles, or move the camera, for example, far away, maybe manipulate objects a little bit, like turn them around or something like that. That's really, that's the start kind of. But I realized that I cannot do anything. So when I open the blend file, I see a very, I think that this is the purpose, but I see like a very discolored image of this, right? Like I don't see how it looks like the way it's rendered. But I assume this is normal. But I can't even move the camera around. And of course, I can like read tutorials and everything, but it's always faster if somebody just gives you the basics quickly.
Yeah, and it's fun. And since I have some time, like to me, this is like I have fun. I like teaching people. To me, this is like resting.
Totally.
It's not like work. Okay, so I think maybe I could recreate what I did for the Infinite Canteen based on what you sent me, because that's what you want to learn. But I did that in Blender 2.79, so you could modify it in Blender 2.79. This is Blender 2.80. It loads projects from the older version of Blender, but the older version can't load projects from this version. So
I actually loaded your project in Blender 2.76, and it was fine.
Oh yeah, still like before 2.80, I think they're like pretty compatible, but they broke some compatibility. I'm not sure why they didn't call this Blender free, because the changes are really solid and they break compatibility. So that's like, I didn't know why they didn't call it Blender free. That wouldn't make sense for me. But okay, so I'm gonna open the file. Oh, maybe one more thing. Here in the left bottom corner, there is my keys. So you can see what I'm pressing on my keyboard, like and I press space. You can see that. I can Control, Alt, Shift, click with my mouse, right click, scroll up and down, middle mouse click. Like you can track what I'm doing. And this is especially useful if you can like, well, this is going to be in public or archived on YouTube, so anybody can just watch it and rewind and see what I clicked if I didn't explain what I clicked. I'm going to be trying to explain everything, but this hopefully reinforces the learning, so you're sure what's going on. So the thing why I want to use Blender 2.80 is because the default settings for navigating and using your mouse are a bit different, but they're more user-friendly, especially more friendly towards new users. It's a bit different in the older versions of Blender, but because this version is gonna be like, it's gonna be the main thing, like we're going this way, and I really love it. I've been using it recently, and I had some inertia to learn Blender 2.80, but once I started, I really like it. I don't want to go back. So I'm gonna open the project. Like we have the main menu. I'm gonna go File, Open. And now I need to find that project. Let's go projects. Yep. Luigi, where are you? I know. I'm going to just click here and type Lu. Tab. Oh, and tab completed this, and I'm here. Okay, Infinite Canteen. Canteen table chairs. So this is the file you sent me. I'm just going to click it. I think I can double click it to load it. Yeah. And that's the project I started with, right? Okay, so what we have here, with left mouse button, I can select objects, and you can see that it's like it has a an orange highlight now. I can click and drag to select objects. Now, mouse wheel zooms in and out. So I can zoom in and out. Now, if we are right now looking through a camera. You can see in the left top corner of this 3D view, this whole area is the 3D view. Here we can read camera perspective. That means we're looking at the world through the eye of the camera. If I click on this edge, I can select the camera. And now we have here also the name of the selected object. If I click here, we have the object is named cube. Someone modeled this from a cube and didn't change the name. If I click on the floor, it's called plane. Someone made this from a plane because it is a plane, just the texture is added. Okay, now I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's get back. Now, if you middle click, you're gonna rotate your view around. Middle click and drag. And if you've been looking through the eyes of the camera, you jump out of the camera view because by default you're not gonna move the camera with you. You're just gonna like go out of the camera, leave it behind, and just move around freely.
Dude.
You get it?
But do you hear me?
Yep, I hear you.
Oh. So I think, unfortunately, I have to use another laptop. Like, I cannot see anything for already like 5 minutes, and my laptop is just freezing. So unfortunately, I have to log out and give me like 5 minutes. I need to use another laptop. I just cannot see anything.
All right.
It's not
so
working out.
Like this,
So
you
I
can.
guess that it's the strain of both of the disc.
Ah.
Of both like the Discord and the YouTube. Like as soon as you started showing Blender, it just and I like everything was frozen and I couldn't do anything, and only now it froze, and only now I see something, so I have to use another computer.
Okay.
Okay, so give me like just 2-3 minutes, and I really apologize.
You know what?
But
Maybe
this laptop is really really old. So.
If you have a mobile computer, maybe you can use one computer for the voice chat and another to view the stream. This way, the workload is lower.
This other laptop is really fast and really modern. It'll be like there's be like zero. I just need to log into a different computer.
Okay.
So I think just 5 minutes tops.
All right, let's go. I'm gonna just make a new project and play around and talk about a bit. Then you can watch it later, and we'll go back to this. Okay, so I'm gonna start a new instance of Blender 2.8D. All right, now it's just me and Mr. TXD and one other person, because there are 4 people watching. I'm pretty sure that one of these people is me just monitoring if I'm streaming. You're attention bitch. I'm gonna leave this call. Or not. All right. So he's switching laptops because he can't watch the stream. Okay, I opened the new. This is the default project. So with mouse wheel, I can zoom in and out. With middle mouse button, I can pan around. No, not pan. I can rotate my view around. So I think like the basic thing that you need to learn to do. Oh, Mr. TXD says, hello, Kasia. Mr. TXD. Wave to him. He can't see you right now. Show your hand. She says she's got bad hair. Yeah, she waved. She saw that. Okay. You don't know him, but he's on every stream, and yeah, he's a lot on Mastodon and stuff. Okay, let's go back. I said you have bad hair, and he said it's fine as long as she's pretty. I think she is, but she doesn't say so. Okay. Okay, stop distracting me. I need a wall here. I can't watch because... All right, let's get back to basics. So basic thing in Blender is you need to be able to navigate your space. So you need to be able to go where you want, look at what you want, focus on things. So with the middle mouse, I can rotate the view. With the wheel, I can zoom in and out. Now with shift and middle mouse, I can pan the view around. So with the combination of mouse wheel, clicking and dragging the middle mouse button, and shift clicking the dragging the mouse button, I can rotate, move, and zoom my view. So after you train this, it's like, okay, I'm looking at this part of the mesh. I want to be looking at the other side. So I just rotate here and there it is. Another very useful thing is that you can focus your view on something you selected. So let's say I want to focus my view on this lamp. I just press the dot on my numpad, numeric keyboard, and it will focus my view on what I have selected. I'm pretty sure there's an option for like... oh yeah, frame selected. Yeah, that's the option. In this menu, you get view, frame selected, and there's also view frame all. So when you press home, it's going to put your views in such a way that you see all the objects in the scene. Mr. TXD says, how on earth did I not know about that? I don't know, there's a lot of basics that we don't know, and we like try to learn stuff and like we're missing important things, and it makes us crippled. So yeah, right click. When you shift right click on something, of course you can select multiple objects. Then if I press the dot, it's going to focus or frame, which means put the objects in the center of my view and zoom in multiple objects. Okay, now I think we have the viewing aspects pretty like figured out. Let's now talk about manipulating objects. So, of course, we can select with the left mouse button. If you click your right mouse button, you have a context menu for objects. And you can do multiple things here. You can smooth the object, shade smooth the object, which makes all the faces like, yeah, basically create a smooth transition instead of sharp or flat. You can also set the origin. Every object has an origin. You can see in the middle there's a little orange dot. There's also this 3D cursor. You can set the 3D cursor. It's a very useful tool because... oh, one more thing about view. Using your numpad keyboard, you can navigate your view also very quickly, because if you press like the 7 on the keypad, you go to the top view. You go to the 1, you go to the front view. You can see here in the top left, there's front orthographic. This says what we're looking at. We're looking at top orthographic. We're looking at front orthographic. Now I'm pressing 3 on my keypad, and we're looking at right. If I press 5 on the keypad, we're toggling between perspective and orthographic view. This is orthographic view, which means there is no perspective distortion. It's like playing an isometric game, a bit. And if I press 5 again, we're in perspective mode. So the perspective distortion is there, and we're like viewing it like a real physical space, because we don't really ever see things in orthographic mode, in orthographic projection. This is artificial. Like if we zoom in very close from a regular camera, it looks almost like orthographic, but it never is mathematically. Okay, so 7 gives us the top view. Now if we press, I think Alt, Control? Yeah, Control. 7 is top. Control 7 is bottom. So we're looking from the opposite direction. Now, since 1 is front, Control and 1 on the numpad gives you back, which is also reverse. And 3 is the right, Control 3 gives you the left view. So the numpad is super useful if you want to like switch your view, and when you're modeling or arranging objects. Oh, Luigi is calling. Hello? 1, 2, 3. Testing. Can't hear a thing. I sure I should be. Are you there? I can't hear shit.
Okay.
LOL. Oh, now I can. Sweet. You there?
Okay.
So now hear me?
That's really bad. That was terrible. That was straight out ear rape, dude. Now it's all muffled and... Oh, there's someone else. Oh, I can hear myself. You need some headphones, I guess. Because we're gonna get some feedback loop. Calling
Okay.
out Mayday. Oh, now the sound is pretty sweet.
Do you hear me?
Yep. Do you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you well. So
Can you see the stream?
yeah, I can see everything normally. I mean, this is partially a Linux problem. So basically, Linux works a lot with hard drive, right? So sometimes what happens is that to my system, and it happens like on almost every computer that I use, is that if you leave the computer for a while, it will dump everything to hard drive from memory. And then when you come back, it will either recover or not. And so what happened was that I was actually away when you started texting me, and I came back and my computer was standing there for like an hour or so. And what happens is that sometimes it just doesn't recover. So everything is super slow. And although it's like the idea is that it reads everything from the hard drive, it might be slow for like 30 seconds or so, and then it's normal again. But sometimes it just doesn't happen and just keeps on being slow. And the only thing you can do is just reboot, unfortunately. And so that's why the old laptop, it's not that it's that old, it's just that it didn't recover.
How much RAM does it have? Because that sounds like it has not enough memory and it has to swap it out to hard drive.
No, so that's not it. So I can send you like a link to, like, this is the Linux thing. So Linux typically takes use of hard drive much more than other computers. My old laptop, which is like 3 years old or something like that, it has like enough RAM to like, and there's like, it's like even a text editor will not work normally. That's the thing. Like it's just
That's really weird.
Just something happens that it doesn't recover from like long periods of inactivity. So I don't know what's the problem. But anyway, with this laptop, this doesn't happen. It's very fast, and there should be zero problem.
That's really weird because I have like multiple systems and I never had something like this. I mean, it must be a problem that it must be solvable. It's not like every Linux system is affected by this. Because,
Like you have to configure it. That means that for this laptop, I have to configure this in such a way that the ratio between like hard drive and RAM are different or something like that. But I don't care.
It's like there's a parameter called swappiness. So it's how likely the system is going to dump memory to hard disk.
Exactly.
If you set it to lower, then it's gonna like hold that stuff in RAM as long as possible before it dumps it if it really doesn't have any RAM left.
Yeah. Anyway, I apologize. I'm back and this should be fine.
No problem. Okay, maybe I'm gonna just wrap up a little bit the navigation in the 3D space because you missed that and it's important.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think that's gonna be useful for you even if because basically we're gonna do the same thing there. You know what? We can do it in the canteen scene. Let's minimize this. Okay, I'm gonna get back to the camera view.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing here is we need to be able to look around and we need to be able to do anything. Then we need to be able to manipulate objects. So we can select objects by left clicking, of course. With Shift, we can select multiple objects. We can also click empty space to deselect everything and click and drag to select multiple objects. I can also select the camera by clicking on the edge here. And you see my frame is highlighted now. Now we're right now looking through the eyes of the camera. If I middle click, it's gonna jump out. And now if I move my mouse as I'm holding the middle mouse button, I'm gonna rotate around the scene. Now we are in orthographic view. You can see that there's no perspective distortion, and we can read that here in top left, user orthographic, which means we're not looking from any camera. If we would be in the camera, it would be camera, orthographic, or perspective. Now if I press 5 on the num keypad, this is very useful. And the problem with laptops, some laptops, is that you don't have the num keypad. So there's an option to emulate that. But you can also change that here. Like you can just click here, switch from orthographic to panoramic view. So this is easier. Like before 2.80, Blender didn't have these controls, so you were screwed on a laptop because you would have to like do some really ninja stuff on the on your keyboard and touchpad if you tried to navigate your view, which was like very annoying. So right now we can click here to change from panoramic, perspective, and orthographic. We can also go back to the camera and go out of the camera with this one. We can also move the view, so pan it around by clicking and dragging on this button. It's the same if we did Shift and middle mouse click and drag. So you can either use Shift and middle mouse to pan around, or you can press on this hand icon and click on it and drag. That's useful if you don't have a mouse, for example, and you just have a keypad. Sorry, if you just have a touchpad, you just touchpad to this thing, you press your left mouse touchpad button and you can pan around. Before, on a touchpad, navigating the view was a pain. Also, you can click on this and zoom in and out, which is nice because you have like very smooth control. If you do it with the mouse wheel just in the view, it's like stepped. But I think you can also shift, control shift. Yeah, you can control and shift middle mouse drag and you get the same thing. I think it's.
And how do you move the camera itself?
How do you move the camera? There are multiple ways. You can move the camera as an object, or you can just, like, if you want, say I want to have a shot like this, and I position my view here, and then I press Control, Alt, and 0 on the numpad, and it will place the camera so it will see what I'm seeing right now.
Control, Alt, 0.
On the keypad.
Oh, okay. So I don't have a keypad, and I already forgot what you said I should do here.
Yeah. So I guess there should be an option to do this without the keypad because, well, it's a basic
Yeah, because
thing.
I don't have it, of course. What about numlock? Can I do that somehow?
If you have numlock.
No, I don't have it. I don't have numlock.
I think there is an option to emulate keypad. Also, I wonder maybe there's like... I thought maybe there's like Control-Shift-Click on that camera and it will do it, but not. Okay, let's go. Let's change the preferences. So, edit, preferences.
Well, what if I just move the camera? That's fine. Like if it cannot... if I cannot go to the position.
But sometimes it's harder to like... It's sometimes very easier to just move your view where you want the camera to be and then just make it go there. I think you can go to interface. I think they shifted some options around, so I'm not sure. Viewport. Somewhere should be navigation. Should be an option to navigate, to emulate keypad. Key map? Input? Oh, emulate numpad. Yay! And this will make your top, like, alphanumeric keyboard parts behave the same as the keypad. So you can now press, like, move your view somewhere, Control Alt and 0 on the alphanumeric keyboard part, and it will behave like you did it on the numpad, right?
Okay.
So on a
I have
laptop,
to.
so on a laptop that doesn't have a numpad, yeah, sorry, it's not called keypad, it's called numpad. You need to go to Edit, Preferences, Input, and select Emulate Numpad.
Yeah, I see it. I'm actually, by the way, so that you know, I'm on 2.79,
Oh,
but it has it. It does have it.
it would be better if you switch to 2.80 because the mouse control is gonna be different. Also, you can click here and save your current settings. So basically, it's gonna be like you have this activated by default when you start a new file.
But anyway, but yeah, hey, but the Control Alt 0 just worked, so I did it and it worked.
Well, that's nice. Yeah, that function is there for a long time already.
Although it makes me jump forward somehow, but the camera is positioned correctly. But anyway.
Control Alt 0. Yeah, I'm gonna
Okay,
disable
cool.
it on my side because I have a numpad and I don't want to not use it. So yeah, we have setting the keypad. Okay, now using the keypad, if you press 7 on the keypad, you go to the top view, and in the left top corner, you can see there is top orthographic. It's always going to give you top orthographic view. And this is very useful when you want to position your objects, because we can now select the table, for example, duplicate it and move it around. And we are sure.
Oh, well, that's cool. Wait a minute. So how do I do it again?
How do you move to the top orthographic view?
No, not yet. How do I do that? Like the reason I'm asking, just like to give you feedback, I can't follow that quickly.
Okay.
So for example, you're saying, "Oh, it's this," and I'm like, by the time I realize what it is, you're already moved on to something else, and now I have to go back.
Yeah, no problem. Like the duplication thing, I'm just like glancing over that, but we're gonna get to that and like focus on it.
Yeah.
But right now, I wanted to just talk about the camera, so we can look
so
at
how
stuff.
do I get?
How do you get the top view?
Yeah.
You press 7 on the keypad, or if you're using emulate
Cool.
keypad, you press
It
7 on
works.
the.
Yeah, it works.
I
Yep, I'm
think
there.
the weird thing is, there should be like a menu. Oh, there it is on the bottom. Okay, so there's a header. Each pane. This is a 3D view. You can see here we can change the type of the view. This is the 3D viewport, and it has a header. And in the header we have different things. One of them is view, and here you can see different like viewpoint. So this is basically your cheat sheet for the numpad. You can use this menu, use the top, use the bottom, which is Control plus 7, which is just the reverse, front and back, right and left. So this is 7, 1, and 3. On the on the numpad, it makes sense because it's laid out graphically, like the buttons make sense. Yeah. And then also you have like on the numpad you can go to 1, which is front orthographic. We can read it here. Control 1 is back orthographic. 3 is right. Control 3 is left. Now 5 toggles between perspective and orthographic. And then also the like. Oh wow, what does 9 do? Oh, I never knew that. I just discovered 9 on the keypad reverses, like gives you the opposite direction. Well, that's awesome. Wow, I just learned that.
See, we'll learn something new. But so interesting. So you see the backs of the table. That means that your tables are somehow sunk into the floor.
Yeah.
I don't see this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Looks like they are indeed like penetrating, or they are so close. No, looks like they are so close, but they are aligned that like Blender shows them as touching, even though they are not, or like poking through the floor. Okay, right now let's go back. 0 to the camera. Oh, what I wanted to say. Also, 8 rotates the view up. 2 rotates it down. 4 left and 6 right. So you and also plus and minus zooms in. So you have like you can really like if you don't have any other means of manipulating your view, you can kind of sort of do it just with the numpad.
Yeah.
Also, if you select an object, because you missed that, if you press the dot on the numpad, it's gonna frame that object or objects, which is super useful because it's gonna make your view rotate around that object. So say we want to focus on this light here, the plane which is serving as a lamp. I press dot. Now I'm looking at it. I can rotate my view around it and zoom in and out of that. It's super useful because you need to focus on different objects and you can't like manipulate that table right there. If you're focused on this plane, it's going to be like, I can't reach what I want, right? You can often just shift and middle mouse and pan your view, right? And then just you are here. And yeah, that usually works, but sometimes it's like, I can't get my view to be where I want. Just select it, press the dot on the numpad, and it's going to be centered in your view and zoomed in to fill the frame. This is super useful. There are also another mode, which is you can isolate selection. If you press the slash on the numpad, it's going to not only like frame the object, but it's also going to temporarily hide everything else. This is useful if you have lots of objects and they're obscuring your view. And you can just... this is called local view. You can see we have user perspective local. That means this is not the scene. This is just an isolated part of the scene. We can select multiple objects. Shift click. And now we can isolate just the floor and the table with the benches. And you press the slash again to go back to the scene view from the local view. Yeah. Okay, maybe let's go and talk about manipulating objects. Let's start by doing what we did already. Let's go to the top view and duplicate this table around. So I'm going to select it. And now let's go Shift D, which is a shortcut for duplicate. And now it automatically goes into the grab mode, which is basically moving objects around. So now if I move my mouse, the duplicated object will follow. I click, it's there. Now it's a separate object. If I want to move an object around, you select it and you press G. That gets you the grab mode, and you can, of course, move your mouse, but there's also a precise way of doing things. You can click X, Y, and Z to perform an action only on one axis. Right now, I'm going to be moving only on the X-axis. You see, my vertical mouse movement doesn't do anything. Only my horizontal one. Also on the Y-axis. Only my vertical movement now does thing. Also on the Z-axis. But because we are looking from the top, we don't see anything about the Z-axis movement other than parts of the bench are hiding behind the floor. I'm going to right-click to cancel that. Let's move our view. And you see, like we can position objects on the floor without moving them vertically, without using the top view, by going to the grab mode. And now, okay, we can do X to move them right, left, and Y to move them front, back. But we can also press Z to move them top, down. We can also press Shift Z, which is going to give us the other two axes apart from Z, which is the XY plane. So now if I move around, I can move it anywhere, but it's going to stay on the same height. The Z location is not going to change. So I can move this here. Now press Shift D. Now press Shift Z and move another one, and they all stay level with the floor.
Is there a way to, let's say that it's not level with the floor, is there a way to automatically kind of level it on top so that it's You know what I'm saying? Like it's standing on it.
Yeah, I think there's something like floor constraint
Mm.
that drops everything to a certain level. Object
Okay.
constraints, floor. Yeah, you can select the object, and then if I move it up, I don't know actually, or no, if I move it down, yeah, it limits the location on down, so I can move it higher than the floor, but I can move lower than the floor. But because you can see that it's limited, but not by the like, it's not calculating physical collision. It's only like checking the origin of the object. You see this little
Yeah. Yeah.
orange dot? It's the origin. I can move this object higher. I can't move it below the origin. So
Mm-hmm.
for this to actually work, we would need to either use this offset. So I can click and drag to make it higher so that we have 1 unit. Yeah, we can actually this is 1 meter, I think, or 1 Blender unit. And now the origin is going to be kept above one unit above the ground. So I can move it higher, but I can move lower. This is useful for animation if you want to move stuff, but you want to make sure you never like clip through the floor. But it's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not physical simulation. We could do physical simulation. Like we could take a lot of these benches and just drop them so they'll like, some of them will flip and we could have fun with that. It's super cool and like we can do that. So we could do that. Do you want to do that? Want to see how you drop stuff on the floor and make it just
Nah. Nah. No. That's fine. I think that's not necessary.
okay? Um. So right, we have moving figured out. However, like we can do also precise moving. Like, let's delete this object. By the way, it's X or it's delete key. Looks like X like asks for confirmation, delete doesn't. I'm not sure why, but that's how it works. I always use X because with my left hand on the keyboard, X is just closer. I rarely need to take my right hand off of my mouse and use to press something. I do when I need to press something on the keypad, but usually I just use the left mouse on the keyboard and right on my mouse and like navigating my view, pressing shift and stuff, and like it's really quick. When you learn it, you can just be so fast in Blender. Like it's mind-boggling how quickly you can move around, manipulate the objects, and it's very efficient with the keyboard and mouse combo.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's duplicate this object, Shift D, and now I want to move it on the X axis. Let's go X, and I want to move it by a precise number. Let's go 1. I typed on the keyboard 1. I can now go type 1.5. And in the bottom left, you can see we're moving 1.5 units along global X axis. And now my mouse movement doesn't care because I've typed a number. So that takes precedence. I can also press minus to reverse that to minus 1.5. Or I can do backspace. Now I have 1, I can type 0 and make it 10. No, I can't. Okay, I need to type more. Okay, I need to remove the dot. Now it's negative 10. Now I press enter and it's applied. And the object is moved 10 units, negative 10 units on the x-axis.
Mm-hmm.
This is, but precise movement is sometimes very, very useful. Also precise scaling and rotation, which we're going to do. Let's do it right now. Sorry. So we can rotate this bench. Let's go press R. And now we can rotate. But by default, it rotates like free fall.
Whoa.
This is not very useful, But there's another mode for rotation, which is like dolly rotate. You press the R the second time. Oh, it's called the trackball. And now it's a different type of reading the mouse movement and rotating. It's more useful in some scenarios. But still, that's not very useful if you want just to rotate this table and make it stay on the floor like it would in real life. So I'm going to right-click to cancel this transform. Let's press R again to rotate. Let's pick the Z-axis. And now we can just move it so its legs are staying on the floor. So we
Cool.
can all do this like a freeform angle, or we can type in like 90 degrees. We can also like do math. So we can 90 degrees by 2, I think. Or maybe not. 90 by 2? No, not here. We can do math in other fields. Oh, wait. It did work. Or didn't. No, it didn't. Oh, I pressed Ctrl Z and for some reason the materials swapped. What the hell?
That's nice.
Now we have like ceramic benches and wooden floor. That's so ridiculous.
That's also an option.
Imagine if you had infinitely deep like floor made of wooden planks that you can dig into the wood and just source wood from that. But you can't source like you can source stone from the benches, but not wood. Oh, interesting. I don't know why this happened. Oh, now I Control Z some more, and we're back at the square one. That's good. Okay. Also, there is a second mode of duplicating objects, which is a linked duplicate. So you Alt D instead of Shift D. Let's move it on the X, -10, like before. What this does, it makes the mesh data being shared between the two objects. So that if let's do a quick preview. If I enter the edit mode on one of them and change some of the mesh, the other will also change because they are using the same mesh data. You can find the mesh data here on this object data tab, and you can see this is a list of mesh objects. You have the plane, we have the cube 01. You see we have some few duplicates. Like these three are actually the same. I just changed the last one. This is because I've been duplicating the object, and like it by using Shift D. Let's go. You're making a independent copy, so this doesn't affect the original object. Shift D is independent duplication. Alt D is linked duplication. Let's delete this and let's revert this one to the original bench. Also, if you take a look at any data block, because this is a data block, here we have a number. It shows how many objects are using this data block. Right now, 2 benches. Let's Alt D again and move it on the y-axis, 10 units. And now we can see we have 3 users of this data block. We can rename this data block to bench. Now there's also this shield icon. It's making sure that the data block is not going to be deleted if it has no users, because Blender automatically garbage collects data that's in the files. It's not like you can remove this data block manually, but if you remove all the users of it and save your file, it's going to automatically remove it. So if you have something that's not assigned to any object, but you want to keep it, press this shield and it's going to keep it from deletion. Save this data block even if it has no users. Yeah. But we have users, so we don't need to do that. Okay. Now let's rotate one of the benches 90 degrees, but now it rotates by a weird thing. Let's press Z to force the Z axis. Okay, we can also, you can see here, we have a tab with parameters of this object. And we have the location, X -10, Z 1.0001, which is like the difference between the origin of the object and the origin of the scene. So you can see our origin of the scene is here where the 3D cursor is.
Yeah, I see it.
And the difference is X, in X, -10 units to the left, and in Z, 1 unit to the up. So, and we can change this here. We can click and drag on this and alter your location of your object. And you can also type here. You can type, we can divide this by 2. and it's gonna make it -5, right? We can multiply it by 2. It's really useful. You can manipulate your objects. Like, you can also type here this rotation in the z-axis. It's 90 degrees. We can also divide this by 2, and we have 45. There's also dimensions. This is the bounding box. So now let's go and scale things, because we've been rotating, we're moving in, but we weren't scaling things. When you press S, you go into the scale mode, and basically you can make things larger and smaller. Now, a useful thing to know now is that if you hold Control, you're gonna perform your transforms using a grid or snapping. By default, this is like snapping to increments. So now you can see I'm snapping to 0.1 unit, or so I can snap to 1.5 scale. If I wanted to precisely scale it up by 50%, it would be really hard to do without holding Control to force it to stay in the increments.
Yeah, I understand.
And also, this changed our scale and our dimensions. If I select the other bench, you can see that dimensions are different. These dimensions are larger. You can also force the scale by dimension. So let's make this bench 4 meters or 4 units wide. And yeah, it doesn't always make sense, but when you're dealing with primitives, it often does. And it also affected our scale. You can see now its scale in X is 1, so we didn't SX. Now this is the global X scale, so this is different. But also, if you press the X second time, we switch to the local X axis. This is also very important. So by default, when we do the transforms, we go G, you press X, it's going to do it's aligned to the world coordinates. This is the same x-axis that is shown here, this red line, and this green line showing us the y-axis, GY. We're moving by the global coordinates, but if we rotated our objects, then their local coordinates are not going to correspond with the global coordinates anymore. So if I R or GX, first time when I press X, it's by the global axis. Second time when I press it, it's by the local axis, along the local axis, which is very useful often when you want to manipulate objects. Also, I can press Y twice to have the local Y axis. Yep. We can also reset the scale just by clicking and dragging down. And now I'm editing all 3 values at once. And because the first one was 1, it also assigns this value here, but let's just type 1, and I've reset the scale. And there are other ways to reset transforms. You can press Alt and G, S, and R. Let's press Alt, R. It resets the rotation to 0. If I Control Z, you see we have this 40-degree angle on the Z-axis. If I press Alt, R, it's going to reset the transform of rotation. Same for scale and movement. So Alt-G resets our location. So now the origin of the object is perfectly aligned with the origin of the scene. We don't want that. So let's Control-Z it, undo. And let's undo the rotation. Maybe let's not undo the scale. By the way, undo is Control-Z. Control-Shift-Z is redo. So you can just move back and forward through the history of operations. Control-Z back, back, back. Forward, forward, forward. Control-Z and Control-Shift-Z. This is very useful if you mess something up. All right, maybe we can, I think, is all that clear? You're following?
Yep. Yeah, I'm following, yep.
Okay, we can maybe tackle some modifiers, because that's very useful, or maybe the edit mode a bit.
Yeah, let's maybe kind of show me how you did the patch when you just multiplied these things.
Okay, so
maybe you can just do this and I will watch.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, I'll do it and explain. Let's delete these benches. I don't need them anymore. Now, I want to extend this floor because we need more floor, but I don't want to scale it because the texture is going to be scaled also. I could manipulate the the texture coordinates, but I don't want to play with that. So what I did is I went to the modifiers tab. It's this key here. No, this how this is called? French key? No. Wrench or spanner. And I'm going to add a modifier called array. Array modifier duplicates things along with certain parameters. By default, it scales in relative. I'm going to just maybe scale this panel a bit. Where is it? Oh, yeah, here. I can drag this and I have more space. Isn't my face occluding anything? No, nothing important. Or I can move it. My face! So I've added an array modifier. By default, it's is going to duplicate, gonna make 2 copies total. So first is the original, then I can add more. I can also type numbers, and it's going to copy it along the local x-axis by the size. So if I rotate this in Z, it's gonna stay in the local axis. It's not gonna fall apart. So now I'm going to copy this, press here, and it will duplicate this modifier. I can see we have a really long floor, but I want to change this not in the x-axis, but in the y-axis. So now we're duplicating first this panel 9 times in the x-axis, and then these duplicated parts, we apply another array modifier and duplicate that 9 times in the y-axis. So we have a plane made of planes. And that's how I extended the floor. Now the texture doesn't line up really. You can see that we have a seam here. Oh, actually that's just a seam in the texture itself. Oh no, the texture does tile, more or less. Yeah. Also, or maybe let's also tackle the view modes. But no, let's do it later. When we're been rendering, I'm gonna talk about the view modes. So yeah, that's how I made the floor. And I also tried to do the same with the benches, but they were too regular. So what I did is made something else. I added a plane, and you can add objects in multiple ways. You can click here, add mesh plane, for example. And we have a plane here. Or let's delete that. We can press Shift A, and then the add menu will appear where your mouse is. This is much quicker. Just Shift A, and you can add the mesh. Or any other thing, like a curve, or a new camera, or a light source, or other things. So I want a plane. There's an option in Blender that you can make one object's vertices define where to put copies of another object. So let's do that. I'm going to go to the top view, and I'm going to switch my view mode. So, wait, my face is going to obscure this. So on the header of this 3D view, we can see there are some modes of view. Like we have wireframe, which shows you just the edges of the meshes, and they are all transparent. This is useful if you want to select something that is behind something else. Like, I couldn't select this plane now if I were in the solid view, because the bench just obscures it. But if I switch to wireframe, I can select that plane if I click on an edge of it. So that's useful. And if you have Pi menu add-on enabled, which is like, I think it's default in Blender 2.80, you can press Z, and it's going to open this Pi menu where you can change between wireframe, solid, and also 2 other render and look dev modes, which are like for making sure things look right. And also change the shading of the objects, but this is not about the view, but this is about modifying objects, actually. You can enable, I think Blender 2.79 comes with the Pi menus add-on, and I highly recommend you enable it. So let's go to Edit Preferences, Add-ons, and you type here Pi and you has Pi menu official, and you enable this. And then you can use these Pi menus, which are fast. Before you could, like, you could, right-clicking just disables it. And I can just click Z and switch between them. And it's really useful because it shows the menu when your mouse is, so you just know that if you Z right and click, you're switching to the solid mode. Z left click, switching to this wireframe mode. It's wireframe mode. It's really fast once you like get your muscle memory working with this. You can also press and hold and then just release after you move. So press and hold, move, release. Press and hold, move, release. It's super fast once you learn it. Okay, we have this plane. Let's go to the top view. I'm gonna zoom out and let's go to the wireframe mode. I want to scale this plane, so I'm gonna press S to make it like cover most of this thing, of this duplicated floor array. And now I want to make the vertices of this plane, so 4 corners, become copies of this bench table. So let's go back to the solid mode, and I think I need to like make sure I have this right. I need to parent the table to the plane. So let me go back to wireframe mode. I have this table selected, and now I'm going to shift click on this edge of the plane. So now we are like, there's a concept of selected objects and an active object. The active object now is the last selected one, so it's the plane. But we have this table selected. And now I can parent the table to the plane. So I press P for parent, Control P, and now set parent to, and by default it's object. Now, what parenting does is makes objects follow other objects. So I've moved this plane, my bench follows along. It's useful if you have like things built from multiple objects, but you still want to be able to select and manipulate individual parts of it, or also change their locations, but then have them all, follow something. A useful thing is also to create empty objects, which is Shift A, add an empty, and you can have like different types of visualizations for the empty objects, and then you can just parent multiple things to an empty object, Control P, and what it does, it gives you a handle to move and rotate and even scale multiple objects at once, but you still can select every single one and manipulate them and change their relative positions, but you have a global handle. This is useful sometimes. Let's Control Z all of that stuff because I made a mess.
Anfa, an interesting question.
Yeah.
If you render this thing to an image, where does the image land? So meanwhile, I just rendered an image that I had, and now I cannot find it anywhere. So where does it put it?
No. Can you press render?
Yep.
It usually opens up a tab or a window with the rendering image.
Well, I did render image, and it didn't open anything. It rendered it. I saw that it rendered, but
then you can press, I think, F11 whenever you are, and it will show you the image viewer.
F what?
F11.
F11. Nope, it doesn't do anything.
But do you have the image viewer? Because, like, you can see this pane is the image viewer. You just changed it. And here we have a list of images we can view. And if I press here, we have, for example, the texture of the wood or the ceramic floor.
It doesn't show anything.
And if you select render result, you have this. I think there's also like render view render. Yeah, this is the F11. But in Blender 2.79, it might be a little bit different.
Yeah, so there is a show high rendered view F11, but I don't know. Maybe I'm already looking at it. Like nothing changes. Like, but again, remember I'm using your file as well, where I think you already had this render view.
Hmm.
But the important thing is
I
that
think
I
yeah.
don't see the file. Like, where do I get the file itself?
Oh,
Right. So
you need to
if
save
I'm
it. Like now, it's just in the memory.
okay,
It doesn't save it to disk. It keeps the full fidelity image in memory, which is like, 32-bit floating point, which means you're not having any clipping, and you can do compositing, making sure the highlights are not burnt out, etc. But you can save this to JPEG, which means you clip things, but only after you can correct exposure before you save it. For example,
hmm.
like you can go
Okay,
to
but
your.
then after I rendered the image, it's actually black. So
Oh, that means you either don't have any light or your camera was somewhere in a shithole or something.
okay, interesting.
Or you might
I,
be like selected some different parts of the view. Like you have 8 slots for renders, and you can change them with the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 keys on your alphanumeric keypad, not on the
mhm.
numpad. So, for example, you can often render different versions, and you can like render first one, you press 1, you're at slot 1. And I just rendered the image to slot 1. Now I'm gonna go back to the default view, change this back. I think I press escape. Yeah, if I press escape, it just turns it back to the view it was before I changed it to the render view with F11.
Yeah,
So
yeah. In my case, it already shows the render view. That's why like nothing was happening. Okay, I
okay,
see.
if it doesn't work, if escape doesn't work, you can just press here on this header and just change it to 3D viewport. Or
Mm-hmm. Okay.
there's also a shortcut Shift F5, but I don't remember it because I don't use this often enough. But you can read the shortcuts here. Now I want to change the camera location, so we have a second view, second render. Control Alt. I moved something. I think my mouse wheel. Control Alt 0. Let's select the camera edge, and now what I often do is select the edge of the camera, then press G and just move it around. If you also press G and middle click, it's going to move the camera back and forth. It's like a dolly. It's not a zoom, it's a dolly. If you want to zoom, you need to change
Mm-hmm.
the properties of the camera. So go to the camera tab, and here you can focal length. You can change the focal length. This is effectively zooming. You can check the settings in millimeters or in angles. Millimeters is useful for people who know photography. They know what a 60 millimeter lens is and how it should look, and they know what lenses they would use for portraits or whatever, and they can just type in the lens focal length and they get their thing. So let's have this view and press G. Also with Shift, you have more precision. So if I press G and move it around, it's pretty quick. But if I hold Shift, I do the same circles, but it's like 10 times less motion, which is cool for a really precise movement. It also works for all manipulation of objects, and also changing values here. You can change the scale. With Shift, I can change it less. I think Alt Shift is no Control. Okay, yeah. Let's render this again. So I want to render this to a second slot. So I have the old render also here. I'm gonna press F11. This is the first slot. You can see slot 1 here. I'm gonna press 2 to switch to the second slot, and now I'm gonna press F12. Oh, sorry. F12 is, I use it for something else, but you can just press render image. And now it's rendering on slot 2, but I can switch to slot 1 and just view my old render, while the new render is being rendered in the background. And then I can just flick between the two, pressing 2, 1, 2, 1. This is awesome if you just, you're going to tweak some lighting and you want to compare if it's actually better or worse, or if you tweak the materials and you render again and you flick between the slots to make sure that it's actually better or worse. Like, it's really useful to have these slots. And then if you want to save an image, you go to Image, Save, or you can press, I think, Shift S, no, Alt S. Alt S. Save image. I think it doesn't do it when it's rendering. We can cancel this by pressing escape and it stops rendering. Now let's press Alt S and we can save the image. So it's holding in memory the full quality image, and it's gonna reduce the color depth, like bake it down to a consumer thing, consumer format like PNG or JPEG. But if you want to save the full quality thing, you use OpenAXR or even OpenAXR multilayer, but basically OpenAXR is enough. And the OpenAXR will save a floating point image, which is what Blender stores in memory, and then you can do compositing on these. If you save PNGs and you want to reduce the exposure, you're gonna have clipped highlights that will not look right. If you want to do some compositing, save things as OpenAXR. By the way, it was designed by Lucasfilm. OpenAXR format was made by Lucasfilm and made open source. And it's an industry standard. So you can say full, which is 32-bit float color, or half, which is 16-bit color, and just change some codecs. PIZ is very good for noisy images, but yeah, whatever. And you can save the image, and it's saved. And I can just go to disk, or I can just go image, open. Now let me move this. Image, open, and here is our EXR rendered. So you can see now we're looking at the saved image, untitled.exr, and now we're looking at the render result. Now, this is stored in memory. This is loaded from disk. It's the same thing right now, but we don't have slots here when we're looking at image files. If I go back to render result, we have these slot things, and we have also different layers, because you can have render multiple images at once, having different subsets of your scene. Like you have trees on one layer and grass on another layer, and you can then save. If you use EXR multilayer, you can save all of these layers in a single EXR file, and then you can do deep compositing on that. It's for people who really if you're making visual effects for film, that's what you use, because then you need to composite that. Otherwise, you don't really need that. So yeah.
Okay. But anyway, to be honest, I think that's definitely enough for me to kind of go through, because that's actually a huge amount of information already.
Yeah.
I'm also not sure. So basically, with the obscurity portal, I realized that I might have to do a bit of graphics work, just because I found this website called Blender Swap, where you can kind of download Blender files and do something
Swap,
with them.
I think.
Yeah, Blend Swap, and I realized that for some things I might need something like that, because the main difficulty of doing any projects is which are more than text is of course graphical artists, that because you cannot draw and you need to draw things for games, or in this case for obscurity portal, it's kind of I need to rely on either using somebody's media or creating it myself or modifying it. And in case of Infinite Canteen, to be honest, I was thrilled with the result, because wow, it became much more real when you have an actual thing, right? And and so I thought, hey, now that means I can do much more. But of course, that means I have to think do I need to actually invest time in this or not? How much time is this realistic? How much time will it take me? But I will definitely consider it and go through it carefully, because with the Canteen thing, what I want to do is I want to place the camera very high on top of it, so that I can also make a shot of kind of a map sort of, and use it kind of like a top view, and say kind of this is how it looks from top, or something like this. And then maybe also if you read about the Kermonta thing, I might want to kind of denote on the map where these guys were hanging out. And so kind of do these things. So in other words, I realized that I might need skills to be able to modify Blender stuff a little bit, multiply things, not in depth, not creating materials or anything, just modifying it a little bit.
Sure. I'm thinking now there's another way if you want to like lay out the benches and like make it an organic thing that you can just kind of sculpt the location of the benches. I think if I isolate this, and we can Alt D, and yeah, I can just select more,
Oh yeah.
just put a lot of that. And also what I can do is there are like you can manage huge amounts of objects and do amazing things with Blender.
Yay!
Like-
Benches.
Yeah, like we have now these benches. Okay, they are all rotated the same way, but we can like we can do something like it's called proportional editing, and that means if you select one thing and you use your mouse wheel, you can like
Yeah.
move things
Kind of
around.
turn
And
some of them.
I can just rotate some of the benches here, some of the benches here,
Wow.
with different, and you can basically sculpt the layout of the benches. Or you can, move away things, or you can just go C, which is a circle select, and then you can just go and just, make a path where there are no benches. You can, again, duplicate all the D. I think there are even some tools like to distribute benches, like, I don't know.
Wow. Even more benches.
Yeah. And you could sculpt a map, like an actual location that feels like something's. It has some order and some patterns, some shapes. Yeah, let's go back to our camera view and see what it looks like. Let's quit the isolate mode view, and you can see that we're spanning a pretty huge area with the benches already.
Yeah. It's like a whole world.
Yeah, I should have probably, when I started, I should have rotated each bench like separately, so each little portion that I copied would have like these random rotations. Because now they all like follow each patterns. The rotation differs, but it's not super like random. Like, yeah, I think we are all parented to this cube, so we can. Also, it's amazing that Blender handles this amount of objects and doesn't even flinch. I have a decent
but, I mean, I also
system,
think,
but
apart from the fact that it probably like renders this very quickly somehow, I think you also have a pretty powerful computer.
yeah, that's true. And also because we're like using linked duplicates, it doesn't have to store a copy of each bench. And also, if you like want to change the materials or want to, I don't know, make some parts different, you can edit all of them at once. Not have to update them all. If you do make a mistake, you can also like select some objects, select another object, and then go like Control-Alt to link, and you can link object data. So if they were separate objects, they're now going to use all the data block of this one. So you can change that. You can also unlink, I think, like Control-Alt-L. I don't know. Yeah. Oh no, that was logout or lock screen. Sorry. Oh no, I need to type my password. Thankfully, there's no screen. Screen keys were not visible. Good. Yeah, so there's lots of fun to be had with editing objects.
Cool.
And proportional
Great.
editing is awesome.
So look, huge thanks for taking the time. I mean, this was very like I'm gonna be still like rewatching this, of course, a little bit just to like get around this. I'll probably have to download like just 2.8 just to be sure that I'm on the same page here. Because like I also tried using this is a 7.9 or 7.9 or 7.6, and it rendered like the image that was like very dark. So somehow there was no light, although I used exactly your file. So I don't know what's going on there, but maybe it's just because it's the old version of the program.
Yeah, it might have loaded incorrectly the newer project.
Yeah.
Because like Blender 2.79 opened a project I saved in Blender 2.80, but it was all broken. it loaded it. It didn't say, I can't open. It opened it, but it was all broken. So that won't work.
Yeah, exactly.
So I advise you go for 2.80.
Yeah, huge fan for that. I hope that anyone watching this video is gonna find it useful as well, because like I think I helped ruin it a little bit in the beginning, but
no problem. It's skippable. We can like find a timeline that timestamp and say where the good stuff happens.
Yeah. You can also kind of edit it out, I think, in YouTube. So
Yeah.
anyway, dude, thanks very much. Thank you. I really appreciate your time and sharing your skills. And a huge thanks for making the patch and to begin with. So yeah, I'll keep you posted about this. Today, I'm going to be working on a bunch of articles. I'm writing like the normal Portal stuff and dimension physics. It's like kind of fun, but requires me to do a lot of graphics work. But I think that I've done most of it. So hopefully, by the end of today, we'll have a couple of articles up. So
Nice. Yeah, if you
Okay.
have some graphic stuff, let me know. I could, when I have some time, I can just
Sure.
have some fun
Yep.
with it. Maybe record a video or live stream as I'm doing it.
Actually, I used GIMP's plugin called Animation that was able to do some very cool animation automatically, which was very great. So I was able to
Oh,
generate
interesting.
very nice looking GIF files very quickly. So I'll share the normal Portal article as soon as it's ready.
Oh, nice. I'm interested to see that. I didn't know we can do interesting animations in
Yeah,
GIMP.
I did not know that as well. So
I know you can like make animated GIFs in it, but I don't know it can generate interesting things.
yep. So okay, cheers.
All right.
Thank you very much again. Bye bye.
See ya.
Signing off.
And let's end the live stream. Yeah, so that was an hour and 20 minutes introduction to 3D in Blender 2.80, manipulating objects, viewing your scene, doing some real simple basic stuff, but also having fun. Hopefully you've learned something. See you in the next video or live stream. Bye.